Good evening. Welcome to the annual Baltimore City Council Taxpayers Night. Taxpayers Night provides the public an opportunity to comment on City Council Bill 24-0521, the Ordinance of Estimates for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2025, and City Council Bill 24-0522, Annual Property Tax Fiscal Year 2025. This is a meeting of the Baltimore City Council's Ways and Means Committee. I'm Eric Costello, councilman from the 11th District and chair of the committee. Tonight I'll be co-chairing the committee with Councilwoman Danielle McCray, 2nd District to my right. We're also joined by City Council President Nick Mosby, Councilman Zeke Cohen, 1st District, Councilman Ryan Dorsey, 3rd District member of the committee. To my right, Councilman John Bullock, 9th District. I believe Councilman Mark Conway, 4th District, will be rejoining us momentarily. Councilman James Torrance, 7th District, and Council Vice President Sharon Green Middleton, 6th District, member of the committee. Also in attendance are a host of representatives from City Council President Nick Mosby's office, Mayor Brandon Scott's office, the Bureau of Budget and Management Research, other city agencies, and the Baltimore City Public School System. For those of you attending here at City Hall, please take a moment now to also silence your cell phones and/or electronic devices. I would like to note at the top that everyone testifying here tonight is here because they care for and are invested in our city, and they feel strongly about some aspect of this budget. The testimony may at times be passionate. We expect that members of the council and members of the public will keep order and ensure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard. Persons who are disruptive will be asked to leave. The purpose of Taxpayers Night is not for the council to make speeches or to debate with members of the public. We are here to listen to your comments, which, along with other written and verbal testimony we have received and will receive from the public, along with information received from agencies during their individual hearings over the next 2 weeks, will help guide our decisions as we pass this year's budget. Again, we are here to listen to you and will not respond to testimony given this evening. But the chair may ask clarifying questions as needed on behalf of any council members. As that any questions from council members for a member of the public be directed to the chair. In addition, the chair may make a statement that may be needed to guide the public in the proper direction if they are seeking information or guidance to city services. There is one point I would like to clarify at the top of this hearing in the hopes that we can head off any confusion. The recommended budget bill is crafted by the mayor and his team, but the council has not yet made any changes or amendments to the budget bill. The recommended fiscal year 2025 operating budget has been recommended at approximately $3.48 billion. This is a decrease of approximately $50.12 million from the fiscal year 2024 adopted budget. The capital plan is recommended at approximately $732.45 million. This is a decrease of approximately $99.29 million from the fiscal year 2024 adopted capital plan. Before we get to public testimony, I'd like to recognize City Council President Nick Mosby for introductory remarks. Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for joining us today. You know, obviously, Taxpayers Night is an important day. It's an important meeting for the City Council as we hear directly from you, the citizens of Baltimore, before the Ways and Means Committee takes over the budget. The one thing I'll add is, just like last year, this year we had the opportunity not only cutting from the budget that has been proposed to the council, but also redirecting that spending. Last year was the first time in 125 years that this council had the ability of doing so, and I think that the council did an excellent job, and this committee did an excellent job of managing not only the expectations associated with the administration, but factoring in the concerns, the questions, and what was brought to us from the citizens of Baltimore. So that's why this process is really important to us. We'll ask all folks, if you're with us today, please ensure that your electronic devices are turned off. If not, placed on silent. What I will also say is, this is going to be a room for real discourse, as the chairman said. There might be times where a council member might have a question, but it's really about providing you an opportunity to talk to us. If at any point there are a person or persons that are disruptive to the decorum of this chamber and this body, we will ask you to leave. Again, we will provide everybody with the opportunity to directly speak to us, but we expect that to be done in a productive way. With that, Mr. Chair, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll now move into public testimony. At this time, I'd like to go over a few ground rules for this evening. As I said at the top, we want everyone's voice to be heard, and anyone who is disruptive or abusive may be asked to leave or be ejected from the meeting. If you have signed up online in advance of this evening's meeting to testify, you still need to sign up right outside of council chambers. There was a sign-in sheet. Currently, I only have 3 signatures. There may be I have a total of 11 signatures on this. So what we'll do is, at the end, if your name has not been called, we will make sure everyone has an opportunity to testify. When it is your turn to speak, you will have 2 minutes. We have a timer set up. Yep, we'll have a timer set up for everyone. One of the co-chairs will let you know when your time has expired. And please note that we will not be taking testimony virtually this year. And please hold 1 second. Sorry about that. So we will not be taking virtual or online testimony during this hearing. Purpose of this hearing is for us to listen, so we do not intend to enter into dialogue with you when you speak, but one of the chairs may ask you to clarify a point at any time. If you are intending to speak, we suggest you do the following when you come up to the lectern. Please state your first and last name and any affiliations in terms of an organization that you might be advocating on behalf of this evening before you speak so that you are identified for the record. Please be sure to speak slowly and clearly. And finally, on the microphone on the lectern, there are 2 buttons on the bottom. You need to press the button on the right so that the light here flashes red. Once that's red, you can be heard. And then when you have finished speaking, please press the button again to turn it off. So with that, we will get started. Thank you. David Yaffe. You got the timer?
Well, I am David Yaffe, and I'm from the Friends of the Enoch Pratt Free Library. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, first let me ask you to bear in mind you can't balance the city budget on the back of the library. The library is one of the smaller agencies as far as budget is concerned. I basically want to make 2 points. The first is about understaffing. One of the ways that the mayor wants to save money is by not filling vacant positions. There are a number of them at Pratt. Some of the branches are critically understaffed, and there's some vacancies at Central Library as well. And I keep hearing over and over again from Pratt employees, you just can't furnish the public service that Pratt has the potential for without a full staff. It's not just a question of the well-being of the employees, but also of the public in general. So you've got an asset there, but it's sort of withering on the vine if it isn't fully staffed. I'd also like to comment about frequent remarks that I hear about the importance of Recreation and Parks Department. I agree with them. I'm not here to say anything except that the Rec and Parks Department should be fully funded too. But people say so frequently that recreation can be the salvation of kids who are otherwise very much at risk. That's true, but I think it's quite a mistake not to mention the library in the same breath. Suppose a kid is a regular at the recreation area and he aspires to escape from poverty by being a basketball pro. Well, what's his chance of achieving his dream? About 1 in 1,000? Suppose another kid is a habitual library user, like Representative Mfume, whom we just renominated the other day, or Dr. Ben Carson, both of whom testify that without their constant library use in childhood, their lives might have been wasted. If a kid
Mr.
who's a regular...
Yaffe, thank you so much for your thoughtful testimony. Would you be able to close out at this time?
Okay,
Thank
I've just got about one more sentence left. If a kid is at the library all the time and he aspires to escape from poverty by through a profession that requires great skill in reading, what's his chance of success? About 70% or something like that, rather than 0.1%. So think about that when you consider, different departments and how important they are for our youth.
Thank you for your testimony. We're going to move on to Doc Cheatham.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me. My name is Dr. Marvin Cheatham, M-A-R-V-I-N-C-H-E-A-T-H-A-M. I'm the president of the largest density community in Baltimore. We had 36,000 people. I'm sad to say that our state senator, Antonio Hayes, has not given this distinguished body truthful information. On page 32 of a 2020 document, there's a clear document that indicates what our community voted for, and this city approved it in a 64-page document. And that is on number 9 on page 32. It very clearly says that our community wanted a skateboard park. State Senator Antonio Hayes has basically said everything totally contradictory to that. We also presented a 250 number of people who signed that live in the immediate area that we wanted a skateboard park. November of this past year, we had an emergency meeting. We call it a state of emergency because of what was happening with our kids. We've had 3 shootings outside of Carver High School. We have had, and we still have, 2 squeegee boards, one on Fulton and Pressman, and one on Fulton and North Avenue. We tried to alert y'all to the fact that there was a club of about 18 kids that were going into a vacant house because our kids know that we have not treated them correctly. That all we're asking for is a skateboard park that was approved by the Board of Estimates. So we're saying, folks, there are consequences. When kids see that we're not doing right by them, they will do things on their own. We're not experiencing this crime and violence accidentally because these kids know that this board, the mayor, and Recreation and Parks has disapproved of something that we tried to build to enhance our neighborhood. So I'm asking to please go back, look at page 32 of a 64-page document. It's documented that Matthew Henson voted for a skateboard park, and sadly enough, our state senator, Antonio Hayes, is lying to say that we didn't want one. It's documented. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Mr. Andy Hens.
Hello, my name's Andy Hins. I live in the 1400 block of Park Avenue. Thanks for this opportunity. I have to say, what I'm about to testify, I've said probably several times in this venue over the past 10 plus years I've lived in the city. Feels a little bit like Groundhog Day. My life doesn't, but this venue is starting to on these 2 topics. I was going to make a reference to the lyrics "Same as It Ever Was" from a Talking Head song, but I see Councilperson Torrance here, who I think on the day that I was redistricted into District 7 was knocking on my front door. So I'm hopeful that it won't be "Same as It Ever Was," because I was, in all honesty, I felt alienated from my previous council member over especially the subject of waste incineration. So let me go ahead with my testimony. The Wind Waste Municipal Waste Incinerator in South Baltimore continues to prematurely kill 800 of our neighbors every single year. We simply must do something to stop that every single year, including this year. But the city government, as it is proposing this budget, is failing our neighbors and making all of us complicit in this horrible harm. Nearly half of what is burned into toxic ash and polluting emissions that include microparticles and heavy metals is easily divertible organic material. Almost all of the rest is single-use plastics manufactured from fracked methane. And yet there is nothing in this budget in the near term to divert and compost organics or take steps to stop the harm the fracking and plastic industries are inflicting on every single one of us by dumping their irresponsible products here. Can I subtract $800 from my paid taxes this year? $1 for every person that we're going to prematurely kill? And there's nothing in this budget to repair the harm the city perpetrated when it acquired South Baltimore from Anne Arundel County to turn it into a sacrifice zone. Despite that our neighbors in South Baltimore face life expectancies a decade or more shorter than the rest of us. We, this city, all of us together, because we're in this together, we created this injustice, not the Maryland Department of the Environment, not the state government. I'm ashamed to pay taxes for any budget that fails to acknowledge and fix the environmental justice we are actively perpetrating. We must explicitly acknowledge this injustice in every single budget every year and identify specific investments and steps to address it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Lorraine Ericat.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Arikat. I'm a Baltimore City resident in District 9, an organizer and policy analyst with 1199 SEIU, United Healthcare Workers East. As a labor union that's representing over 5,000 healthcare workers here in Baltimore City, we are calling on holding our tax-exempt wealthy institutions, our hospitals and universities accountable to paying their fair share. I'm here with the With Us, For Us coalition, calling for higher pilot contributions so that we can invest in community wealth building initiatives. These are initiatives that are community owned and operated, that are locally held. So things like South Baltimore Community Land Trust, Plantation Park Heights, Compost Collective, Black Yield Institute, and so much more. But there are so many others that are trying to create cooperative models and just do not have the funding to make that happen. And we want to change that. It's long overdue that the pilot agreement is no longer behind closed doors and negotiated actually through a public task force with community and labor stakeholders at the table. We are behind cities like Boston and New Haven, whose city leadership has demonstrated the importance of holding these institutions accountable in their own cities. To reveal a contrast, Yale University signed a new pilot agreement in 2021, where they are paying over $140 million to the city of New Haven over 6 years. In comparison, Baltimore City's 15 institutions combined are contributing $60 million over 10 years, or so we say. We still can't really identify if they're actually paying what they said in their agreement. Additionally, the Maryland Health Services Cost Review Commission reported just this past fall that nonprofit hospitals reported community benefits that they're mandated to do through their nonprofit status are only meeting 37% of the community health needs that are reported. This gap really shows that they're not meeting community needs. Community needs include good livable wage union jobs, community control of land, green space for youth recreation, environmental justice, and much more. We need a new, fair, transparent pilot agreement. Not only are our workers overworked and understaffed, but patients are being discharged into neighborhoods that do not have the investments to support their healing. Hospitals' medical waste contributes to toxic air that our children are breathing in. Low-income patients are wrongfully charged with hospital bills.
Ms.
And
Ericat,
amidst all of this—
can you close out at this time, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
It has always been communities and advocates who has held institutions accountable. So that's why the With Us For Us Coalition is proposing a set of reform that would create long-term success that puts communities and low-income workers first. So when I say with us, you say for us. With us? For us! Woo!
Thank you. Nicole Fabricant.
Hello, Nicole Fabricant, SBCLT, Towson University. I'm here as a Baltimore City taxpayer, resident, and organizer with South Baltimore Community Land Trust. For too long, we've let tax-exempt hospitals and universities push the unequal burden of high property taxes on everyday Baltimoreans. We must hold them accountable with fair and transparent pilot agreements. We don't want this to happen behind closed doors. We want the public to be involved. We were appalled to see in the budget a 37% increase in money for Bresco and a 4% increase in money budgeted to pay for recycling. That does not make sense. I'm here to talk about zero waste. We launched right before COVID Baltimore's Fair Development Zero Waste Plan, and it was there that Mayor Scott and a bunch of city council residents signed on to this, saying that this was the last time they were going to sign a 10-year contract with Bresco. Well, if we are to do that, we must begin to invest in zero waste infrastructure. I work in Curtis Bay. Many of the youth that we work with down there are actually here tonight as young people, 17-year-olds, because they're frustrated with the budget and the democratic process in this city. They've conducted their own participatory research on environmental justice. When asked how many have asthma, every single child in the classroom, young person, raises their hands. There are not enough healthy young people to actually play volleyball. Young people share asthma pumps because their families can't afford medical care. We have consistently used lands in their community as a sacrifice zone. Cumulative impacts of toxic facilities is affecting their ability to breathe. So I ask all of you as council members, would you want your child relying upon an asthma pump their entire life? Do you want to see him or her play basketball, football, run track? Is that an aspiration of every parent? Well, these children also deserve that right. They dream, every parent down there, of having a healthy child. Zero waste has proven effective and sustainable.
Can you close out at this time?
We're almost done. Than any other form of bury and burn infrastructure. We're way behind in Baltimore, way behind our partner and sister cities. In Sacramento, they've committed to working to promote a zero waste California and to reduce, to reuse.
Thank you for your thoughtful testimony.
So I'm ending now, but I want to say that if we don't adopt zero waste, if we don't see in the budget, we are going to come back here over and over and over again, and we're going to make sure that we move Baltimore away from incineration. Thank you.
Thank you. Samantha Growing.
Good evening. My name is Samantha Gowing. I am a renter in District 12, and I work as an attorney at the Public Justice Center representing tenants in eviction cases. The Public Justice Center is a member of the Baltimore Renter Solidarity Coalition, and the coalition asks the City Council to implement the following budget priorities in the fiscal year 25 budget to ensure safe, stable, and affordable housing for all Baltimore renters. First, we ask that $2 million be allocated to the Right to Counsel and Eviction program. Last year, the city dedicated $1.6 million to the Right to Counsel program, and continued funding in fiscal year 25 is essential, in part because Baltimore City passed an ordinance, it's Article 13, Section 6A, requiring or allowing for attorney for all low-income renters who qualify, and it requires full implementation, for all qualified individuals to obtain legal representation in eviction cases by April 1st, 2025. And we won't be able to meet that deadline without continued funding carried over from last year into this year for Right to Counsel. Secondly, the city should allocate an additional $2.5 million to housing safety inspectors through DHCD. The safety inspectors are the front lines for ensuring that tenants have safe, habitable housing, and yet we have a chronic issue of inspectors being understaffed, in part due to below market salaries, and we need additional funds to ensure that we have all the necessary resources to recruit, retain, and fully staff housing safety inspectors. And third, as my colleague David Wheaton will speak further on, the city should allocate $15 million to emergency rental assistance, which would keep an estimated 4,800 families housed, and is the rate at which, at least last year, the city was burning. It was the rate at which we needed to meet the need was $15 million. So that's what we're asking for. And finally, I would conclude by uplifting the demand for a pilot agreement that is with us. For us. Thank you.
Thank you. David Wheaton.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is David Wheaton, and I'm an attorney with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, also known as LDF, which is a member of the Baltimore Renter Solidarity Coalition. We are asking the City Council for increased investments in eviction prevention and tenant protection measures that are aimed at keeping Black renters housed in quality, safe, and affordable housing. The first ask was for $15 million for emergency rental assistance. This is an increase of the $8 million that was allocated last year by this council. We are asking for that increase based on budget hearings where the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success testified that the city required $58,000 per day based off of need, a rate which will require $15 million. Black households have the highest eviction removal count in Baltimore, almost 3 times higher than the white eviction rate for white residents. Furthermore, Black children in Baltimore are disproportionately likely to experience eviction and the significant negative consequences that result, including school attendance issues, mental health issues, harms to neurodevelopment, and overall child health. Research shows that rental assistance is an effective intervention to reduce homelessness, evictions, and improve student outcomes. In Baltimore, Black renters significantly benefited from rental assistance programs. We are also asking for $2 million in access to council funds. This city council authorized $1.6 million in the FY24 budget for tenants' right to counsel. Right to counsel is critical for protecting residents and lessening the negative impact of evictions. Tenants who have access to lawyers during eviction court face starkly different outcomes than unrepresented tenants. They were far less likely to receive an eviction judgment and less likely to suffer the collateral consequences of eviction records, and this includes for Black tenants. Baltimore's right to counsel law that was passed in December 2020 requires full implementation for all covered individuals to obtain legal representation by April 1, 2025. Increased funding for right to counsel is an essential for achieving full implementation. We thank this council for already making critical investments for renters, but ask that the council for increased investments to reduce housing instability, especially for Black low-income renters. Median rents for new leases in Baltimore City have increased by more than 20% from 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Wheaton. Can you close out at this time?
Yes, and I would just say the council needs to increase investments for eviction prevention and tenant safety protections, and we need a pilot program that is with us and for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Taylor Smith-Hams.
Good evening, council members. My name is Taylor Smith-Hams. I live in Better Waverly, and I'm a longtime resident and organizer in this city. I'm also a member of Resource Generation, which organizes young people between 18 to 35 with access to wealth and class privilege to work toward the equitable redistribution of wealth, land, and power. At Resource Generation, we want wealth inequality to stop with our generation. My class privilege is the direct result of institutional racism, which enabled my family to get ahead through programs like the GI Bill, while Black and brown families were systematically denied opportunities to build generational wealth. Since joining Resource Generation, I've committed to redistribute at least 10% of my income annually, as well as any inherited wealth from my family to resource movements for racial and economic justice. I'm sharing this with you to demonstrate just one tiny way that wealth redistribution is already happening. Through mutual aid, gift economies, cooperatives, and individual redistribution, people are taking steps every day to dismantle the extreme inequity in the city and across the country. This work is vital to repairing past and ongoing harm, particularly in the city that invented redlining, and to building a more just future where everyone can thrive. And this work needs significantly more resources. I'm here tonight to echo the calls from the With Us, For Us coalition to make universities and hospitals pay their fair share and direct those excess resources to buttress existing community wealth building initiatives in the city, including community land trusts and cooperatives. Dedicated community members are working every day to build a more just and equitable future in Baltimore. It's beyond time that these institutions do the same. With us, for us.
Thank you. Maymore Flores Lucero.
Hello. I am here to.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Minor Flores. I am a student at Benjamin Franklin. I am here to discuss about the incinerator that's less than a mile away from our school. I am sickened to the fact that hundreds of our students, of my fellow classmates, have to go to school with a incinerator. I am sickened that thousands of people, families, have to live next to an incinerator. I believe if change is gonna come, that we need to invest into zero waste. I also want to bring up that in the year 2024, my school still has it still doesn't have adequate heating. It doesn't have adequate cooling. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Saxton.
My name is Stephanie Saxton. I'm from the 12th District. So yesterday, the mayor met my goddaughter at the 29th Street Community Center, and I showed her the picture of it this morning that was on Instagram, and she was like, I look terrible in that picture. But her mom works nights, so I often pick her up from this 29th Street Community Center, where they have an after-school program. And we're lucky enough in our neighborhood to have that, but not all neighborhoods have recreation centers where kids can be after school like that. And I'm here to ask that we increase the recreation budget and put programs like the 29th Street Community Center offers, after-school programs and stuff like that in every neighborhood. And in the same neighborhood as this one is Johns Hopkins, which I think does not pay its fair share in taxes. It pays a disproportionately low amount of money towards the city, given how much property it owns in this city. So I'd like the council to renegotiate the pilot agreement to get them to pay more money and support these things for young people, such as my goddaughter uses. Thank you all.
Thank you. Jordan Taylor.
Hey, good evening, y'all. My name is Jordan Taylor, here on behalf of Black Youth Institute, as well as the With Us, For Us coalition. I would just like to state that in these communities that we serve, Black Hill, we're in Cherry Hill, we're in Mount Clair, we're in Curtis Bay, there's a distinct need for food, there's a distinct need for areas where people can just be, like local green spaces, parks, things of that nature for people to feel safe. This time last week, we were in Curtis Bay giving out about 50 or so bags of produce, and with that produce, we asked people to fill out surveys. On those surveys, we asked them if they would want to see a more sustainable market come to their community, if they would want to see more options, more fresh food, because again, as we're all speaking to all of these things, whether it be air, whether it be not having a place for your kids to go out and play, whether it be eating from a carryout every night, all of these things have effects, tangible effects on your mental, your physical, and your social interactions. So we're advocating for more money to go in towards green spaces, more money to go towards community organizations, cooperatively owned organizations, organizations doing mutual aid, organizations doing food and political education, all of these things to make our city as vibrant as it could be and as it should be. And with a little time remaining on the clock, I do just want to also state for the record that a lot of the work that we've done has been negatively impacted since the pandemic with the rising cost of inflation, the rising cost of labor, the rising cost of parts, all of these things. So we're asking for more money, not to be greedy, but to offset these rising costs that us as well as many other organizations are facing. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Trueheart.
Good evening. I want to give you each a copy of a memo that I sent to you. I hope you read it, right? I emailed it to you several weeks ago. And the topic of the email is using your new city council authority to realign an item in the budget. And the item that I'm asking you to realign is the capital budget that can be used to give grants to organizations that operate and run facilities in our communities and neighborhoods. Capital funding is needed by those groups to repair the roofs, to repair HVAC systems, to repair bathrooms, and I'm one of those operators of a city-owned building, but it is in disrepair. And there are a lot of other facilities around the city that could use funding. So we have two issues here. One, you can realign the capital budget because for 10 years it was 80 million going into the capital budget because of bond bills that were sold. Now it's going up to 125 million. There's an opportunity there, and I'm asking you to realign 3% of that to go to neighborhoods to repair the facilities that we operate. And then lastly, I am definitely in support of renegotiating the pilot agreement with the meds and eds. That agreement was flawed from the beginning. $6 million a year on a declining scale makes no sense. If that is the substitute for their taxes, it is short. It is way short of what they need to pay. And you can take that money and invest it in neighborhoods in addition to the capital funding that I'm sure you're going to realign. And if you haven't taken a look at that, the Department of Planning was here earlier.
Ms. Trueheart, can you close out at this time?
And he can share with you the increase and how it's coming about, because we have more money in the budget to pay it back. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe this is Tohai Harris. Okay, my apologies. Thank you.
Elementary school teacher would be proud of me. So hi, good evening. My name is Toby Harris. I'm one of the environmental justice coordinators with the South Baltimore Community Land Trust. As many of you know, we're a resident, youth-led nonprofit organization advancing environmental justice and fair development across South Baltimore and our entire city at that. So I've been a 10-year Baltimore City resident and a District 9 resident for the past 4 years. And as an organization, SBCLT supports and knows why Baltimore City needs to be with us. For us! So that eds and meds can contribute their fair and needed contributions to help financially support community land trusts in our fair development plan to transition to zero waste, for instance. These are solutions that start to provide justice to our neighbors, friends, colleagues, and loved ones, specifically in South Baltimore, where folks have been facing environmental racism, oppression, and ongoing injustices for far, far too long. So we were there when City Council and now Mayor Scott supported our fair development plan for zero waste in 2020. So I personally just kind of want to call some fake news on the mayor. He's quoted as saying he was going to work his butt off to not burn as much at the incinerator, and that he would make sure this was the last time we ever gave them a new contract. So it's long past time to invest in infrastructure and program development that reduces waste produced in the first place, while simultaneously expanding diversion, reuse, recycling, and compost to ensure no additional contract with the incinerator in 2031. So in that sense, why does the fiscal year 25 to 30 budget completely delay and eliminate investments in zero waste? So you have infrastructure that's essentially going against all of the adopted city plans for waste management in our city. So specifically, we're planning to spend more on Wheelabrator, 37% more from last year, 43% more from 2 years ago. So we're not meeting our 30,000 tonnage recycling goal. So we simply lowered the goal. Come on now. It's really past time to stop our disproportionate investments in health and environmentally harming incineration and landfilling. We need aggressive action from our city leadership, capital funds for zero waste, while actually spending our operational dollars in line with our values and the future we supposedly want to see for ourselves, our children, our young people. So I just also want to add to please consider the undemocratic and inequitable implications of eliminating virtual testimony as well. State legislation has established kind of testimony that standardizes so we can remain accessible and just to all of our community members who might not be able to join us in person tonight.
Thank you. Asia Carey.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Asia Carey, and I'm the president and CEO of the Culture Connect Group and the executive director of our nonprofit arm, Crayons and Culture. I sit before this committee as a taxpayer from the 4th Council District, and I'm excited about the opportunities to continue advocating for our children. My ask for the council is to adjust the operating budget under the public safety pillar to include a transparent line item that focuses on youth violence prevention. Currently, the budget reflects expanding the sidestep diversion program to the 9 police districts, as well as expanding the group violence reduction strategy to the Eastern and Southern districts. I applaud the dollars that Monty dispersed to the 15 organizations. That's an amazing start, and I'm happy this council is expanding this initiative. In addition, according to the mayor's comprehensive violence reduction plan, quote, justice for our youth is not only about immediate interventions when they make a mistake, but more importantly, providing them with the appropriate social emotional development opportunities to foster emotional intelligence, conflict transformation skills, and appropriate behavioral responses. This is the long-term preventative work associated with violence prevention and includes strategies like restorative practices, mentoring, and cognitive behavioral therapy. Again, my ask for the council is to adjust the operating budget under the public safety pillar to include a transparent line item with a dollar amount that is dedicated to youth violence prevention, which is distinct from diversion, specifically with the focus on getting dollars to Black-led grassroots organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. Detrice Dowridge.
Hello, my name is Detrice Dowridge with Baltimore Renters United, and I'm also here with the With Us For Us Coalition. The pilot agreement should be renegotiated because these institutions aren't paying their fair share, and these are the same institutions that reside in the very same communities that are marginalized and underserved. If these institutions paid what they owe, imagine the possibilities of less vacant homes, economic development, job opportunities, and thriving communities. For years, the city has failed its residents, and it's time to change that, starting with you all. It's time for you to start saying no to outside private developers and stop relying on corporations because they are not the answer to saving the city, the residents are. I'm also asking in the interest of housing safety that the city allots $2.5 million to pay for additional housing inspectors. As a tenant advocate and organizer, I not only hear but witness the unsafe and deplorable conditions that renters are subjected to live in here in Baltimore. Even when trying to get assistance by calling 311, a system that could definitely use major improvements. I also ask that you approve $20 million for rental assistance and change the way assistance is given, because a renter shouldn't have to wait to get a judgment against them in court in order to get assistance. I would also like our city leaders to do better with speaking with and seeking input from organizers who are on the ground doing the work to make the city a better place. Thank you for your time, and I hope the city can do better in 2024 and beyond.
Thank you. I also want to just acknowledge Councilman Schleifer, who has joined us. Eduardo Cabral.
Hey there, I'm Eduardo Cabral. I'm a cooperative venture capital and business strategy consultant. I'm also a worker co-op volunteer with the With Us For Us Coalition. I'm a homeowner in the Liberty Square neighborhood in District 7, represented by Council Member Torrance, which we should talk about the Reisterstown Road Diet, but at another time. Tonight I am here to talk about how worker co-ops are key to fighting wealth and income inequality in our city. And Baltimore's local co-op scene has actually been on the forefront of this movement already. Organizations like the Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy, Common Ground Workers Co-op, Taharka Brothers, and more demonstrate how we can create a more equitable economy when we empower workers with ownership. In a worker co-op, if you're not familiar, the workers control the voting capital in the business and have at least 51% of the profits allocated to them at the end of each year. That means that, yes, there can still be investors in worker co-ops and there can still be returns. With the vast majority of wealth being owned by the top 1%, empowering workers with ownership is key. Unfortunately, our lending system is not built to finance worker co-ops. There are fundamental structural barriers, like the need for personal guarantees that make it impossible to get SBA loans. Community Wealth Fund would be transformative by providing the patient capital necessary to start up co-ops or convert existing businesses from retiree owners to fill in a gap in our community that is not being addressed by CDFIs or community development financial institutions. The Community Wealth Fund that we're advocating for would start rebuilding our middle class. Imagine a world where being a retail staffer, a barista, or a manufacturing employee could actually be a viable class to home ownership and to having a retirement and health care. Today, the national worker-owned economy is only, when it comes to co-ops, only represented by $400 million in an economy that's $27 trillion, which means this fund could be an opportunity to put our economy on the map. Let's make cooperative ownership the key to our mission in building a more equitable city, building an equitech and equitable businesses here in Baltimore, and of course, building our asset base. Don't you guys want to pay for services for your constituents? Raising taxes is terrible, right? Well, why don't you just widen the asset base and let's pay taxes from the folks who aren't paying taxes yet? I'm paying a higher proportion of my overall wealth right now to Baltimore because of my ownership of my home than Johns Hopkins is. And let's be real, right? These organizations are more parts, just last sentence, let's be real. These organizations are more parts real estate organizations, investment companies, and sports teams than they are educational institutions. And I know this because I worked in campaigns. I know how donors work, I know where the wealth is, and we know how these institutions actually work. And I believe that this organization that is paying, that has $1 billion hedge fund should be paying more in property tax than I do as a proportion of my overall income or wealth.
Mr. Cabral,
so when I say with us, you say for us. With us. Thank you very much.
Heather Johnson.
Y'all better work on that pilot. It is insane.
And please make eye contact with us.
Yeah, don't look at your phones. This is about responding. Give me a break.
Am I 2 minutes?
It is so disrespectful.
Ms. Heather Johnson, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. you. Thank you, Danielle. All right, my name is Heather Johnson. I am a mother of 7. I live in District 3. Hey, Ryan Dorsey. I am a tenant organizer, and I work for Baltimore Renters United. And every Tuesday and Wednesday, I stand outside of Baltimore District Court at 500 East Fayette Street, and I distribute information about right to counsel. I advocate to allocate at least $2 million for its full implementation. When I talk to tenants, I see their despair, and I believe that only cash assistance can help. Most of these tenants have lost their income through no fault of their own, such as illness, family death, car problems, you name it. Any eviction filed against them will only add to their hardship. I strongly believe that if we truly care about our tenants, we will approve $20 million for emergency rental assistance. Baltimore renters deserve housing just as good as our city council members' housing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Alfred Gann.
Good evening, council members. My name is Alfred Gann. I am a postdoctoral researcher working at Johns Hopkins University, and I'm also here tonight as a member of the With Us For Us coalition. Having lived and worked in Baltimore City for almost 8 years since 2016, I have fallen deeply in love with this city and basically see it as my second hometown. However, I am also acutely aware of the myriad of social issues that ail this city, such as poverty, homelessness, high crime rate, degrading environment, and lack of public services. And because of these issues, many of my coworkers and students often feel unsafe to venture out of the safe bubbles that is the Hopkins campuses. And over the years, I have come to the painful realization that Johns Hopkins University, which is the institute that I work for and feel deep attachment to, is contributing to the problem. As the largest private employer and one of the largest landowners in the city, Hopkins only pays a tiny fraction of the property taxes that it's supposed to contribute. And along with other anchor institutes involved in the pilot deal, we are depriving the city of the necessary resources to address the profound economic and social inequities that the city is suffering from. But I believe we now have an opportunity to change that. I urge the City Council to push for a renegotiation of the pilot deal with these institutes so that the additional revenue could be put to use to establish a community wealth building fund as advocated by the With Us For Us coalition. I believe that in the long run, this will benefit not just the poor and marginalized communities in Baltimore, but ultimately the average workers at elite institutes such as Johns Hopkins as well, as the city become a better environment for us to work and live in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deborah Elfenbein.
Great, thank you. Hi, I'm Deborah Elfenbein, and I am a proud city resident, District 7, and I'm a proud apartment renter and a proud librarian working for Pratt Library. Got a lot of pride here. Also a proud member of Pratt Workers United, which is the new union of Pratt Library. And one thing I'm not proud of is Pratt's chronic short staffing. It's not a sustainable way to manage the library and the library budget. I have one copy of the Pratt Library Workers Understaffing zine. I only have one because we're so short-staffed. I'd like to give it to you. Copies, and so I can't give you all some. But I wanted to say that the bargaining is going really slowly. We are a quasi-city agency. That's a really big point, the quasi part. You sign our checks, but we are controlled as a private-public staff. They have a board of trustees and a board of directors, and then donors, and then you all. So when we're private, we're not listening to you, and when we're public, we listen to you, and you can get a sense of the tension there. So I'm a proud member of Pratt. We really, all of us working there are really dedicated to helping people. And I just wanted to ask that you give the Pratt leadership a push. They make a whole lot of money. There's an ad for the new CEO that just went out. Over $250,000 a year is, and actually maybe more depending on their experience. So your public support will serve us well. I really appreciate your advocacy, and congratulations to all who won in the election.
Thank you. Alessandro Angelini.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. My name is Alessandro Angelini. I'm a Baltimore City resident, taxpayer, and professor of anthropology at Johns Hopkins who researches urban development in Brazil, mainly, the country with the highest concentration of wealth inequality in the world. It's a path that Baltimore does not want to follow, so that's why I'm here to talk about the extension and expansion of Pilot in the name of community wealth building. How a society allocates its economic resources says a lot about it, and even more so says a lot about where power lies. So as a social scientist, I know that not all neighborhoods in Baltimore are treated equally due to the history of residential segregation, environmental racism, and structural disinvestment. But once I was here 7 years ago, I began to see how this inequality keeps reproducing itself in what it looks like on the ground, and most importantly, what Baltimoreans, ordinary Baltimoreans themselves, are doing to overturn this shameful side of this city's history. So I'm frankly revolted by the politics of toxicity in this city, the cycle of toxicity in this city, where, for example, an incinerator spews poison into the air, poorer citizens develop asthma and other respiratory illnesses at record rates, and they become patients in our esteemed medical institutions, which continue to generate more waste that goes back into that incinerator. So when we seek equity in the development of this city, it's about supporting zero waste plans that the mayor and this body has already pledged to commit to. It's about shutting down the incinerator in South Baltimore that the mayor has already claimed will let its contract expire. This is not about seeking new promises and commitments, but holding all of you to the commitments we've already made. So the best path, I want to argue here, for Baltimore is the one that we've already chosen with us. For us! Thank you, and for us.
Thank you. I believe this is Dwayne Alexander.
How you doing, family? I got a short bit of time. My name is Dwayne Alexander. Everybody know me as Wayno or Monroe, Wayno. I'm in the 6th District. I'm up here because I first want to start off by giving a shout out to all of the winners and everything, but mainly to my Honorable Councilwoman Sharon Middleton for all the work that she has done in our community. We have lost a lot of lives in that Park Heights area, West Baltimore area, so I can't say nothing negative about this woman, or this woman here, who's sitting right here with this hat, who put a lot of fight and a lot of struggle in to save lives. Now, I don't want no claps or snaps or none of that stuff, because I never seen none of these people before in my life, and I literally had probably the only person in here that had my life on the line more than 10 times. So, you know, me standing up here looking at every last one of y'all, I appreciate the job that you do, and I just ask that you have a better system of vetting out the people that work under you. Because a lot of the stuff that I didn't get involved in was because I knew the people that were working under you was already corrupt. So there needs to be a better system of vetting. So we gotta get away from hiring cousins and friends that bring in cousins and friends, because that's what's really destroying the city. A lot of our wealth is going down the drain because a lot of the people that work downtown live in the county. You know what I mean? So, you know, at the end of the day, our city suffers because of the fact that the investments and the money and the resources aren't going back into the people that's been there for generation upon generation upon generation. You know what I'm saying? So outside of being the black man that y'all think I am, I'm also a Moor by blood. I'm also out of the indigenous people that been here for thousands of years. My family and my bloodline signed the Bacon's Rebellion Treaty. We still here, still to this day. And we don't get no recognition. We all piled into one group of just black people. I work with a couple of brothers from Nigeria. I work with people all over the world because I move around as a motivational speaker, do all these things to fund events and programs, the stuff that y'all could be doing. You can look on grants.gov and find the money, but it's the people that's working under you. And I get paid a lot of the times from the people that's working under you to do the paperwork. And most of y'all probably never even seen me before. I hung out with your brother, he's a cool dude, your moms and all that, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, has to be a better vetting system. You have to include people that have been here from the ground up. And I'll be the first to say, well, I'm wrong when I'm wrong. Because I balked on that lady years ago, and she told me what
Mr.
it was.
Alexander, can you close out at this
And
time?
I'm closing out, and I realized I was wrong. But a lot of the issues that I'm hearing in the room come from the people in the room not putting up the money to back their community. Because I found the money all around this country to support my community. And none of the people in here look like the people from my community. So I just ask that we put together a better vetting system and be more serious about saving lives. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I'm going to try. Flowers? Last name Flowers? Okay. Okay. You don't want to? Okay. Thank you. Exlali Villa?
Hello, good evening. My name is Citlali Villa. I am a resident of Union Square in District 9 and here in solidarity with my WUFU allies. And I have serious concerns. I actually took the time to look at the budget. Just first and foremost, these pilot agreements, in the context of these budget shortfalls, I noticed that the budget was a lot lower this year. We really need to rethink how we structure the pilot agreements for these meds and eds. For context, 10 years ago when I was in college, Johns Hopkins University had an endowment of $3 billion. This year it is $10 billion. So if we can't officially tax them, figure out some structure, I don't know if it's invoicing them or something, to charge them for all the services that they benefit from that we are paying for. And we have precedents. Yale is paying New Haven a lot more money right now. So if the city thrives, these institutions are gonna thrive. Don't let them threaten y'all. Don't bow down to their greed. So just the solidarity with my colleagues calling for the support of a community wealth building fund. I saw that we are also raising the debt ceiling with bonds, so we need to earmark a portion of that capital budget for community-led programs, as folks have detailed in this space. I saw that minority and women's-owned business development was defunded by more than $500,000. Head Start was defunded by more than $2 million. But we added $3 million to the Wheelabrator, which is contributing to disease and pollution in South Baltimore. Like, come on, y'all, get it together. With that kind of money, we can invest in citywide composting, more cooperative business development, loan guarantees to support cooperatives and minority-led businesses, community land trusts, and affordable housing. People are literally telling y'all what we want, and you know, it's not happening. Another issue I have is these tax incentives for corporate grocery stores. For these corporate grocery stores, we should be investing money to seed food cooperatives that are community controlled. This way, capital is not leaving the community and actually staying. People need to eat. If we control our grocery stores, it's not going to leave.
Thank you. Can you close out at this time?
I have a couple more seconds. And lastly, really fix this budgeting process. Participatory budgeting is a thing. It's done in other countries, but also here in the States. Vallejo, California, and also Greensboro, North Carolina. North Carolina, a Republican stronghold, we can do this. All right, and there's an organization called the Participatory Budgeting Project.
Okay.
Please use your political capital. Please use your
thank you for your
capital.
testimony.
So do y'all want to be forgotten as politicians who do the same old thing?
At this time, we're going to reset to recess. Thank
Are you
you.
with us or for us?
Okay, as a reminder, we want to make sure that everyone has the appropriate time, the same amount of time to testify. The rules established is that we're going to give everyone 2 minutes to testify. As you can see, I'm making sure you get a little bit over 2 minutes as well, if you need to finish a statement. If we can all respect the 2-minute rule so we can make sure that we get through to every person who has signed up to testify. I thank you all in advance. We're going to move on to Christian Brown.
Hello, I'm Christian Brown, but I go by Sosie Brown. I just want to say that I'm an advocate for the skate park of Baltimore, and the community of Easterwood has made clear that they support the skate park and overall improvements, yet it's been 2 years since the project has been abruptly halted and the community has not seen any progress nor a plan. With that being said, a promise was made and funding was committed. Rec and Parks was quoted in the Washington Post in 2021 saying that the project was fully funded and shovel-ready, yet in 2022 the plans were unexpectedly called off. The community wants their elected leaders and government officials to keep their promise. The site-specific plans for the skate park were completed and paid for, and the community wants to see them. So please, show us the plans. In conclusion, $300,000 in city general funds were committed in the fiscal year 2020 budget, and $850,000 was committed in the fiscal year 2022 budget, of which $350,000 was city and $500,000 was state, totaling $1,150,000 total. No additional funding has been committed from the city or the state in the fiscal year 23, 24, nor 25 budgets. Why has there been no additional funding to complete the necessary improvements and the skate park? Moreover, why can't ARPA funding be used for the Easterwood playground updates and overall improvements? Why use the money specifically allocated for the skate park? Lastly, where is the money now? How will it be spent and when? Please restore the full amount necessary for the construction of the skate park. As I mentioned last time, it's beyond begging. You guys literally made a promise and we're just trying to make sure that the promise is kept. It's that simple. We will make our presence known at any public event that we are able to. This is for the children. This is not about us. You guys made it about the elders, and even the elders are saying that this is for the children. We've yet to see overall improvements in 2 years, and that's absolutely ridiculous. And we've also, that was the answer we were given as to why the skate park was halted, for the improvements that have still yet to even be initiated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tisha Guthrie.
Good evening. My name is Tisha Guthrie, and I'm a resident, excuse me, of the Poppleton community, 9th District. I'm a taxpayer, a registered and regular voter, and an activist organizer in Baltimore City, a town I've always loved. I've also witnessed the abuse and neglect of this city at the hands of companies, corporations, eds and meds, and also those who have chosen complicity. Having witnessed Baltimore's devolution over 5 decades has been heart-wrenching. I also serve as a licensed mental and behavioral health therapist. One of our cornerstones of practice as we align ourselves with individuals and families as they endeavor to become the best versions of themselves, is respecting their immutable right to self-determination. That is the foundation of healthy relationships, first with self and with others. Consider the relationships that this city and other intrusive entities have with Baltimore residents. The extraction, the neglectful, and the abusive natures of these relationships is the antithesis of affording self-determination. In actuality, it resembles those desiring annihilation. The current process of budgeting and the budgets which have resulted from this are not conducive to the healing of the historically and the currently wronged communities. The answer cannot rely solely on outside developers coming into communities, claiming our communities as their own. There must be room for our healing, for our dreaming, for our self-determination. This city is home to some of the most prestigious schools of public health and social work, yet the very research and the evidence produced on these campuses does not inform this city's behavior nor the work that it does. We need housing security, so fund right to counsel. We need housing stability, so fund emergency rental assistance. We need healing,
Ms.
and we
Guthrie,
need
can you close out at
self-determination,
this time?
so invest in CLTs. Take seriously the opportunity to hold eds and meds accountable. Have them contribute to the city that has afforded them such wealth and prestige. There are always consequences to ignoring poor health and circumstances. The longer you wait to address the city's dis-ease, the more dire the fallout.
Ms. Guthrie, thank you for your testimony.
We hold you all accountable, and we are depending on you. We are depending on you. And let me say this.
Ms. Guthrie, thank you for your testimony.
The fact that we have 58% of our population as single heads of
Ms.
households
Guthrie,
who could be
if
here,
you are unable
or
to
who
honor
could
the time, I will be requesting.
Or who could testify
that you are
online.
removed.
We need to make sure that ADA is accepted and is also adhered to.
At this time, a warning has been provided. Thank you. We're going to move on to Lawrence Brown. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, to all my colleagues here, and to the City Council. Basically, I'm here in support of addressing the issue with our taxation, that we're not doing enough to hold and cure and bring in more taxation, more revenues from our august eds and meds. Also want to highlight another reason that we should do this, and that is this redlining map right here for Baltimore City. And it basically shows it was created in 1937. Many of our communities were colored red and yellow. This was done by the federal government, and it was done with the aid of Baltimore City. And so one of the reasons that Ms. Guthrie and others are asking for healing, for more resources, for more action, for more budget from you for our communities is because our communities have been harmed. They've been materially harmed. They've been disinvested in. And so what we're asking is that we don't have to come up here all the time and push and prod and agitate and try to get you all to do more for our communities. Now, I know you all are doing the very best that you can, but we believe that you can do more. We believe that you can invest in our communities in a way that will help heal the historical harm that has been imposed. I don't appreciate some of you not paying attention, though. This is serious business. This is serious business. And I hope you all pay attention and listen to what folks who have come out after a hard day's work are trying to say to you. You want this to be a democracy. I believe you do. You just participated in elections. So listen to what the people are saying. I like what the sister said earlier. Do more to make this budgeting process more participatory. Go out into the community. Don't just hold the hearings here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ahanye Nwosu.
Peace, council people. It's Ihani Wosu, but we'll leave that alone. Only got a few minutes. I just want to say thank you for listening. Give us a chance to speak. Hold y'all accountable to things y'all supposed to do. My name is Ihani Wosu, representing Tendere family, and I'm here to ask and demonstrate that we need $75K in acquisition of a building in McElderly Park. We acquired $150K recently from a bond bill, but we still need more. Another thing that we also need is $100K for a violence and prevention program that we do, really spearheading our community patrol program that we have, making sure kids get home safe after school, and also preventing fights and violence that we see happens after schools in these different areas. So we're asking for $100K to get it funded for the next following years and really show y'all what happens when these taxpayer money is actually put into good use. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? We are at the end of our list of folks who have signed up, but I want to make sure that if you're in the room and you would still would like to testify, that you're able to.
I just have materials, if I may provide it to the panel.
Okay. Dexter, can you? Okay, seeing that there is no one else that signed up this evening, I'm going to turn this back over to our chair of the committee. Thank you all for your thoughtful and your passionate testimonies.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, thank you all for your testimony. I'll now turn it over to Council President Nick Mosby for closing remarks.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for turning out tonight. Obviously, this is an important process that we're going to embark on. As it relates to community input, it doesn't stop at the taxpayers' night. As you can tell from the last budget process, the council worked around the clock with the administration to factor in some of the concerns and questions that were raised, not only during the agency hearings, but also during this process and engaging with the residents. So I ask that you please stay in tune and you please continue to provide us with any feedback, any concerns, any questions as we undertake the budget process.
Thank you, Mr. President. Co-Chair McCray and I would like to thank all of you for participating this evening. Your comments have been heard, and members of the City Council appreciate you taking time to share your thoughts on this budget. The City Council may consider the adoption of the fiscal year 2025 tax rate at the meeting of the City Council before June 17th. In the meantime, Ways and Means Committee budget hearings will commence on Thursday, May 23rd, beginning at 9 a.m. Hearings will go from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. on May 23rd, May 24th, May 30th, May 31st, and June 3rd through June 6th. The full budget hearing schedule is available on the City Council's website. You can view those hearings. Those hearings will be open to the public, but we will not be taking testimony during that portion of the hearings. You can also watch the hearings live on Charm TV's website on the live stream or on Comcast Channel 25 Charm TV. Thank you all. We're now in recess.